Hey, ladies and gents, welcome to the Controlled Interest Gamecast. We're talking about video games and everything happening in the industry. Episode 138. As always, I'm joined by Dom.
It's Thursday. We're recording this, and it's just tomorrow, Friday, that we'll all have our hands on Sekiro.
Shut up.
That's a great feeling.
Well, actually, this evening I'll have my hands all up on it.
I mean, literally, it will be tomorrow, but whatever.
Well, not for me because I get it at
p.m. Central.
and 10 for me.
Oh, really? That's how that works?
So Jared and I will be playing it today.
Wow, I didn't know that's how that worked. Shit. So, like, video games revolve around Eastern Time, apparently?
Exactly. I get it. Well, for the United States, yeah. So I get it at 10 p.m. technically, which is I get the best. Well, not the best. If we lived in California or whatever, we'd have it the best.
So technically, it's an hour later if you were able to go to a GameStop or whatever, and then also you have to get home. You don't have it installed. You don't have the day one update. Yada yada yada.
You buy it digitally, you get it before. Like here, I could buy it digitally, play it 2 hours before going to a midnight release, so it's cool. Speaking of cool, Jordan's also joining us this week, as always.
Swish swish! It's time for March Madness.
Wow, a true fan.
So last week we switched it up when we had you guys go before I did, because normally I'm the one that goes first, and I liked that. So I think last week we started with Dom, so this week we'll start with Jordan. What have you been playing, Jordan?
Guess.
Nothing.
Yes, exactly. I had gone this far, and I thought, you know what? I've got some other things that are popping up, some other fun opportunities. I'll just go with that and continue this little streak I got going, and then kind of just really try to give myself as much of a blank slate for Sekiro this evening as I possibly can. So yeah, basically I'm hoping that I've cleansed my palate, and the disappointing misadventures of earlier in 2019 aren't going to get me down for this samurai game from
2019's been great, man.
FromSoftware. It's been a bumpy ride.
Depends on what path you chose.
I didn't play. Right, exactly. I live in the darkest timeline. Living in the darkest timeline, I chose not to play the horror game Resident Evil 2, oddly enough. I'm sure I'll get around to it because it definitely looks great. But yeah, it's a hard knock life, Dom, and I'm glad that you chose the proper path. But you know, I had to explore the Forbidden Forest, unfortunately.
Ooh, nice. 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 What's the word I'm talking of? You know,
alliteration.
Transition?
Not alliteration, but like
metaphor?
Visualizing. Oh man, it's gonna kill me. It's been a long time since I took an English class, guys. Sorry. Never mind.
Anyway,
making your words visual. There's a word for that, a phrase, a term.
Now I'm trying to think of it. God damn it.
Whatever. We'll come back to it. Jared, what have you been playing?
I want to go. I want to go last.
I
think Jordan's not finished technically.
No, that was it.
Yeah,
you're done. Time's up.
I still want to shout out the Game Over Greggy show because I've honestly just kind of been binging that.
Oh yeah,
playing music underneath it, like listening to Spotify or whatever. So I'm like more than 30 episodes in at this point, and it's so interesting, man. Like just seeing
time capsules. It's weird.
Yeah, exactly. Time capsules, seeing the way certain things play out, and certain statements that get made that end up not being the case in the end, and a lot of interesting stuff there. So there's that. And then
when you're listening to that, do you just get the vibe that this is the group of guys that are one day gonna buy a football team?
Well, they didn't buy it technically. There was no financial.
Whatever the hell it is, it's weird, but you get where I'm
going. Buy a football team?
Oh, there was an announcement. Yeah, they kind of funny now owns a team in this fan league where fans get to pick the plays that these football teams run. It's a whole thing. They didn't buy the team. Okay. Basically, the guy who runs the league is a big fan of Kind of Funny. He saw an opportunity. They created a partnership. So Kind of Funny doesn't have any financial backing in the team, but they run the team, if that makes sense. They're like the main owner of the team and the sponsor, but they had no financial.
So we are now playing Madden in real life.
And the number, it seems like the top voted name right now for the team is Milk Mommies. So that's going to be great.
Oh, my favorite. Anyway,
I didn't catch that.
Number 2 is Wild Aces, which is pretty cool. Anyways.
There's that, and I want to give a shout out to some music, which is not something we usually talk about on this show. Been going through a lot of big 90s phase, you could say. And, of course, that involves a lot of grunge, certainly some Pearl Jam. Been enjoying that. Been getting into Soundgarden, because I hadn't given that too much of a try. Dude, Soundgarden's fucking awesome, man. I talked a little bit about that, but loving stuff like that. There's more obscure stuff or more indie stuff. There's Garbage and Hole and all kinds of grunge bands. So just giving it a try, and not even giving it a try. I already like a lot of that stuff, but going a little bit deeper with it and giving bands that I hadn't listened to before a try. So music, man, music's fucking cool, and like I said, don't give it enough shout outs on this show. So huge shout out to music.
Nice. Just music. Yeah, I like that.
Dom, what have you been playing?
So while we're on that note, I'll give a shout out to music as well. Something that I never even considered ever in my life. I found this playlist, and actually there's several different variations of this playlist on Spotify called like Lo-Fi Beats.
Oh yeah, it's big on YouTube. It's huge on YouTube.
Oh man, I didn't even realize that this stuff existed or was used in the way that I've been using it, and it's fantastic. Like when I'm working, I'll just keep that on if I need to concentrate. It's basically, I don't know how to explain it. It's just really like kind of no lyrics or whatever, totally instrumental, kind of like calm,
melodic,
different, interesting beats that you might hear in like I don't even know where you might hear it, but it just sounds like something you can imagine hearing in like a coffee shop, maybe. Not even
the world's coolest elevator.
Yeah, like a futuristic elevator with like a slight hip hop vibe. I don't know. It's just shout out music anyway.
Real quick, while we're shouting out music, since we've been talking up Sekiro, what do we think the music situation is going to be? Because in Bloodborne, it's only during boss battles, really. And like, I guess cutscenes, but there's barely any cutscenes. So outside of boss battles, it's really just the sound effects that you're hearing.
I think it'll be the same in Sekiro. I think the boss battles, in terms of sound design, I think it'll have a heavy emphasis on like drums.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like a build up of drums. You know what I mean? Like doof 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 doof, something like that.
Yeah, like there's obviously a big Asian influence here, whereas Bloodborne has a English Victorian influence. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. What have you been playing, Dom, outside of just listening to music?
So, other than music, I've been playing... I played a whole mess of Shadow of the Colossus on PS4. That game... I want to carefully word this. That game is somehow so excellent and so beautiful and incredible. But the camera controls in that game take it from, what should be like a 9.5 down to like a 6 or something. It is that bad.
Jesus Christ.
The worst camera I've ever experienced in a video game.
You're talking about PS4 remake version.
Yes. It is so bad and so frustrating that I'm not going to say it ruins the game, but it just cripples what should be like an amazing game. So starting with the good stuff, though, best fur and hair you'll ever see in a video game ever, hands down.
Nice. Dom, also, you're not going to hear a protest from me because you know how I'm like, one thing can easily ruin a fucking game, and I can totally back that.
And sometimes maybe I'm more tolerant of like one thing than Jordan, but this is bad. It's bad. Because what else is good about this game is the world is... Jared, you might not like this because the world is kind of like Breath of the Wild, where it's really big and beautiful, but there's actually not much of anything people and population wise, it's just kind of barren. So there's that. But the bosses that you fight, which is all you fight, they're just, when you first are introduced to them, it's incredible. Like, each one is, save for a few of them, like, they're just like enormous. Like, they live up to the term colossus, singular. Just like being up against them is just like, it feels like a couple of Dark Souls bosses the first time you see them, where you're just like, oh shit, like that thing is a literal tower. Where do I even begin? And then it's like a puzzle to figure out how to actually climb atop them and figure out where their weak points are, and that's all really interesting. But the coolest thing about this game is the feeling of when you are climbing on one of these guys, the feeling of holding onto the grip button and like fighting for your life, so while it's trying to swing you off of it, it's just like never before. Like, that age-old joke about like when you push the button harder, you think it like has more of an effect or something when it's like just the same button push. Yeah, that like this evokes the strongest feeling of that I've ever had in a game, of like, holy shit, like you're holding down the trigger, which is your grip button, as hard as you possibly can, while like these giant monsters are just like thrusting and whipping their heads around and trying to swing you off. And so like trying to traverse them while that's going on is just, it's so enthralling. It's really a bizarre feeling that I don't know that I've ever felt in a game before. So it's super cool. But the camera, being as bad as it is when that's going on, is infinitely frustrating. I could bitch about it all day. It is that bad of a camera. And I have one Colossi left out of 16, so I'm just about done with the game. And it's taken me this long to where like I can mostly manage the camera to where it doesn't kill me and cause me to fall all the time. So I can like just barely manage to deal with it at this point.
The crazy thing is, so that game is such a novel concept, and it's actually something I'm surprised wasn't copied and pasted more like through the generations. Like the idea of like just fighting these giant monsters, and to your point, like though it has an empty world, I think that makes up for it when you have these big battles with these giant colossi.
Yeah.
And from a developer standpoint, I'm pretty sure that was necessary back in the day, that the world kind of had to be empty so that way the monsters could function properly.
I could see that, yeah.
I just wish there was more games like that nowadays, like where you're fighting these monsters that are just like indescribably large. Like they don't even all fit on one screen. And to your point, with that kind of game, the camera's kind of important. If you're fighting something you can't completely see at once, the camera kind of needs to be on point so you can maneuver it,
It's so bad. Even just like riding your horse around the world, the camera, what it tries to do is you control it with the right analog stick like you would any game, but the camera is constantly trying to, I don't know, like be smart, and it just moves on its own all the time. So you'll move it one way and it thinks like, oh well, no, that's not what you want, and it'll automatically move it back the other way or up or down in some God-beknownst direction, and you're like, what? Why in the fuck would I want to look up at the sky when I'm riding my horse down a narrow path? I don't know. Anyway, it's bad, but the game it's really cool overall, and the story premise, there's not really much to it, but it is super, super engaging. I'm anxious to see how it ends, to be honest. It's a really simple story, but like, I mean, I don't want to spoil it. You probably heard about it already. It's kind of, you're trying to revive your, I don't know, sister, girlfriend, wife, whatever it is. Mother, probably not, because she's not that old.
Do you not know the spoiler for this game?
No, I have no idea what happens.
I don't know either.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah. But all I know is, like, you have to kind of
hilarious.
Seek out, and never before in a game, but if you think about it, most games, you're kind of just, everything you kill, you're kind of like, did I really need to do that? You don't ever ask yourself that in most other games. But this game, like, sets everything up to where, like, you kind of like question, like, do I really need to go and hunt these things? Like,
it's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah. And the music that plays like when they fall is like, oh damn, what did I do? Like, it's like screwing with you. And in most other games, it's kind of like triumphant when you kill something. But
wait,
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, don't spoil it for me. I'll be done in like, it can take me probably another half hour or less.
It's just weird that you say that halfway through the game. What you just said. Like you're recognizing things.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about it.
It seems like they're tipping their hat more than the original did.
Well, I think it's just he's heard about it, and I think subconsciously he's taking in some of that information of people feeling bad about killing them, not necessarily the spoiler at the end of the game that makes that all make sense. If that makes
sense. So I don't think I've had it. I don't think I've had it fully spoiled, but like I've listened to a review that said like, you kind of question why you're killing these things, and so maybe a little bit of presupposition.
I haven't like beaten the game. I don't know necessarily the complete connection, but I do know you guys. I think we're on the same page. We all know that like they're not bad. The colossi aren't like evil creatures. You kind of end up feeling. I don't know if like you're necessarily an evil character like attacking them, but you end up feeling like sort of like a villain at the end of the original game is how I always understood it, because they're not, like I said, evil creatures. They might even be like good or positive in a way. So
which is funny because
I have some guesses as to what will happen.
The only other game I kind of can remember doing the same kind of concept as the main through line through the narrative is Spec Ops: The Line. So it's cool to see like one's a very artistic approach to that, and one's a very military approach to that same kind of concept. So
yeah, it's a super interesting game. I mean, I'm glad I got it super cheap on like a PSN sale, so I'm glad I grabbed it and playing through it, despite its one so major glaring flaw that I can't even comprehend, and it's frustrating. You know, there's hard games like Dark Souls that are hard, just I don't know, but fair. But this is like just
but they're
stupid.
Designed to be hard.
Yeah, this is I don't understand the design choice behind it. I don't get it. It's just bad.
I'm not saying you didn't do this because obviously you know what you're doing when you play video games, but there wasn't like an auto-focus camera option you can turn off in like the settings or anything?
God, I hope not. Because I'm almost done.
I'm not saying there is one. I'm just asking if there is. You know, who knows?
That actually makes a lot of sense that there would be. So
you wouldn't check the settings if you're pissed off about this?
No, I mean, there's hardly anything in the settings, so I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's an old game. I could see like remake. They just like updated the graphics. It's like it is what it is. I get it. Yeah, sorry for posing that question.
Shit. Well, it's better that you did. Then I wouldn't sound quite as ignorant right now.
Yeah.
At least shitting on this game for something that I just had to flip a switch for. But
there
anyway,
was somebody who reviewed a game
cool
recently, and like they did. There was like a thing that they didn't know you could do in the settings. I think it was for like RE2 or something. And they reviewed the game, and they were like, I don't remember what the exact feature was, but it's like, it's disappointing that this game doesn't allow you to do X. And then everyone like just, roasted him in the comments. They're like, did you ever push start at any point in the game? So it was bad. They had to take down the review and re-review it.
Roasting them buns.
Besides that, was there anything else you played? Or is that pretty much the bulk of your...
That was it. I mean, I've been playing a lot of it because I've been engrossed in it. That was the last thing. There's barely any HUD. There's just like one little health bar that only comes up while you're fighting.
Yeah. Or
in a position to lose health, and otherwise there's just no HUD, so it's super immersive in that sense, which I appreciated. But
that's also Team Eco's probably easily their best game. You know, Last Guardian somehow won Easy Allies Game of the Year, but that game had a lot of issues. Eco is like, people like it, but it's not as revered as Shadow of the Colossus. Like, people love Shadow of the Colossus.
Right.
You were speaking of the lo-fi, listening to it when you work. Have you guys ever like used white noise when you're working or stuff like that?
No, they already pumped that in my office anyway.
So
not really.
Whenever I am writing or doing any kind of work, I put on white noise on my headphones on like a YouTube video, like 10 hours of white noise or whatever. And it's crazy because you lose focus of everything around you, which is good. And I'm working, you know, smashing keys, a lot. I finish, and then the moment you stop the white noise, it is the weirdest thing, because then you suddenly hear all of your surroundings. You're like, whoa, that was weird. It's like a weird daydreaming type of experience. It's very odd.
Deprivation thing.
Yeah. I also, one of my other favorite things to listen to when I need to concentrate is thunderstorms. Put on like a 10-hour thunderstorm thing, and then just work through that. I just love the sound.
That sounds like a good idea.
Say, I've used like binaural stuff before. You can find on YouTube, where it's like different frequencies that help try to kind of align your brain to focus. So,
in terms of what I've been playing, I have some positive news and I have some negative news.
Here we go.
I'll go with the negative news first. I just don't feel like playing Kingdom Hearts 3 right now. I've just come to that realization. Like, So this week I actually picked up the controller, and like I said, I was about halfway through the Tangled world. It's not a very long world. And I picked it up, and I was getting ready to play, and I was at the main menu, and I was just like, I don't feel like playing this, you know? I just don't.
Damn, you even, like, booted the game up, bro.
I booted it up, I was sitting there getting ready, you know, had my headset on, and I was just like, I don't feel like playing this. So instead of, like, slogging through an experience I don't want to go through right now, like, I do want to finish Kingdom Hearts 3, but I don't want to play it and, like, resent the experience.
Sure.
So instead of doing that, I just was like, I'm not going to play that. That day specifically, I decided instead to watch Triple Frontier on Netflix, the new action movie.
Yeah.
I liked it. I was telling Dom, it's not like, I don't think it's the greatest movie ever. I think the narrative in the movie is like, whatever. But the acting performances are really solid. Like the cast, you know, Oscar Isaac, Charlie Hunnam, Ben Affleck, Pedro Pascal, who I absolutely adore. Their interpersonal relationships in the movie and their acting between one another is really good. They kind of, just their performances with one another carry the film. It's not a bad movie, but it's not like, you know, 10 out of 10, 9.5. It's a good action movie, but I think the acting carries a majority of it. I enjoyed my time with it, though. I recommend it if you're into just like want to watch an action movie with some good acting. Don't watch anything with Mark Wahlberg.
Whoa.
Just kidding. Not.
I think I found a transformer.
The other thing.
Why has this guy got a problem with me? He doesn't want to watch my movies.
I started watching Hunter x Hunter as well because I had heard that if you're somebody who likes Dragon Ball or Pokemon, that Hunter x Hunter is like an anime that you'll probably enjoy, and I am enjoying it. I'm only like 6 episodes in. There's this YouTube channel that I watch that they do watch-alongs to stuff, and they recently started Hunter x Hunter, which gave me the idea to start it. So I'm kind of watching it with them on a week-to-week basis. I'm only like 6 episodes in, really liking it. Almost finished.
So you watch their... Explain how you do this.
So I watch episode 1, then they upload them reacting to episode 1, but it's only like 10 minutes, so it's not like the whole episode. It's just like highlights, and then at the end of that, they just discuss the episode with one another, like what they think is happening in the story, character connections. Like they just talk about it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like watching through a series with friends or whatever, but on YouTube, and they're pretty short videos, like 15 minutes. It gives me a reason. It gives me an additional reason to get into a show, and especially somebody like me. We've talked about. I'm not like a super TV movie guy, so that extra of like, oh yeah, this is another reason to watch it because it's these personalities I like also watching it. So, I'm also almost done with The Punisher season 2. It's a lot slower than season 1. I don't like it as much as season 1, but it's still good. I don't think it's bad. It's still, with all of the Netflix shows, I think it's still in the top half, but it doesn't beat any of the Daredevil seasons or Punisher season 1 for me.
I think I'm abandoning Marvel Netflix.
That's fine. I completely understand that, especially with the news today that they're auctioning off.
Over it.
They're auctioning off all of the costumes and stuff from the shows. Zero chance of them coming back.
Gee, wow.
Wow. I think it's Netflix auctioning them off. I don't know if it's Marvel. I didn't look into it. I'm an episode behind on Walking Dead. I don't really want to get into that too much.
Watch the latest one, man. Whew.
I know. I need to.
Guys, okay, all right. You brought it up, Jared.
Don't spoil anything.
No. I'm just saying, like, I really can't handle fucking Alpha. Let's see. I'm a few episodes behind, so I'm like, I'm not gonna spoil anything for you guys. Like, the first couple episodes with Alpha is like ridiculously bad. She's awful. It's like miscasting like I've never seen before. She's like the least intimidating thing I've ever seen, and it's really, really rough for me, man. And like, even what she's doing with her Whisperer clan is kind of stupid. You guys have seen the episode where they come up to the gates at Hilltop, and the deaf chick is in the cornfields out front.
Yeah.
And that whole situation that goes down, first of all, I just think it's like poorly written and directed, and like just that whole sequence and scene was just dumb. I was like, why? This is not to me, it was not portraying what they were trying to get across, like the intimidation factor and like really showing how the Whispers control a herd in the comics, which is tough because that would take, budget to show a lot of zombies or whatever. But so far, I've just been really disappointed with the Whispers and Alpha, and like I said, I've got several episodes to catch up on, probably 3-ish, but very disappointing. Sorry to bring the vibe down, but I just had to say, like, I can't believe it. It's so cool in the comics, and this is just once again, like, I really thought we might get back on the right track with the show, and like they wouldn't be just mucking so much stuff up, and where I'm currently at, I can't say that that's the case, so that's upsetting.
So I also played Trials Rising. I said last week that my goal in finishing the game, because I can play this forever with the user-created levels and all that stuff, I would be finished with this game when I reached level 100 and I beat Inferno 5, right? I got a gold on Inferno 5. I did that, so congratulations to me. Clap, 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 clap. Really cool. In terms of it comparing to previous games' Inferno maps, this is easily the hardest one. So for those not familiar with Trials, there's easy, medium, hard, extreme tracks, right? Then over the last couple of games, they've introduced ninja tracks. Now, ninja tracks were originally user-created levels that were extreme difficulty, right? Like, harder than extreme difficulty. And there was this community of people trying to finish these ninja tracks that are, like, absurdly difficult, require these gameplay mechanics that are beyond me, somebody who's played so much of Trials. They introduced it into the core experience, and after you beat Inferno 5 and get gold on all of the extreme maps, you unlock ninja tracks, and they're belts, like martial arts belts, right? So the first one is white belt ninja track. There's an achievement for beating it. I beat it somehow. So it's very easy in terms of ninja tracks. It's like a smidge. Like if Extreme was 10.0 and Ninja was 11.0, this is like a 10.1. You know what I mean? It's like slightly above an extreme track. So I finished all of that. I reached level 100. There was another achievement in the game to finish an extreme track with 0 faulting.
At this point, you're just beating the absolute tar out of this game, like. But
mercilessly. I mean, I'm probably in the top like 5% of people who play this game. But I'm nowhere near like the top 2 to 1%. You should see some of the stuff these guys do.
Jared's going ML motherfucking G, Dom.
I know I'm not that good. You should see some people. It's ridiculous. They play the game way too much.
It would be cool if he's just like, guys, I'm sorry, I got to go do my own Trials YouTube channel now. Where he's like Twitch streaming. He's like, check out, I've got T-shirts going, guys. I'm a big Twitch streamer now.
I'm part of Cloud9 now. So 0 faulting means you don't crash on the levels, and obviously the extreme levels, a lot of them are designed in a way that you can't really run obstacles back to back. It's kind of like you complete one and you either fault or you pause and then set up for the next one, right? There's not like a clear through line.
That's like the essence of Trials, right? Is trying not to crash your bike, because you're doing all these flipsy-doos and whipsy whirls and crazy whatnots, right?
The progression throughout the game, starting from easy all the way to extreme, your initial thing is complete the levels, right? Then it's get a better medal than you did before. So if you finish with the bronze, then get a silver. Then it progresses to try to get golds on the levels. Then it progresses to try to do it in as few many faults as you can, right? As least.
Yeah.
As few?
Yeah. Is Trials... Sorry, this is a small tangent. Is Trials... I remember the original
Dark Souls
of these games.
Bikes platformers.
Yeah, is it because there was a Flash game. Do you guys remember the Flash games where you're on the bike and you're trying not to crash the bike?
Yes, it's from that.
The ramps?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if I can't remember what other like games they were what they were called or whatever. But I feel like I know obviously Trials has been around forever.
There's also real life sport where people do this. They're on motorbikes and they go over these weird obstacles where they have to jump. I'll link you a video after we're done. I swear to God, it's a real sport, dude.
Trials in real life.
It's not labeled as Trials, right? But it's called like Moto X Infinity or some crap.
Speaking of, have you seen, Dom, you'll be interested in this, the ice skating races? Like downhill ice skating races?
Oh, yeah. That shit's terrifying.
What the hell?
Yeah, I needed to include downhill. Because I just said ice skating races. You're like, yeah, I've seen people
like speed skating
for
it.
Yeah. No, the downhill ones where it's like they're going ultra fast and they're like, it's basically hockey, dude, because they're in hockey gear and they kind of like hit each other like it's hockey.
Yeah.
They'll like bump each other and shit.
That's fucking scary.
And then they go down. That. It's basically almost like if you could imagine like a little Trials thing, but on ice, where they're going over like ramps and like sharp turns and stuff, like big curves and all that. So it's like, it's wild. Dude.
Well, it's like that sounds like snowboarding or skiing, except you're not on soft snow. You're on hard ice, and you have blades on your feet.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know about that.
It's so funny. Like if you don't play sport, you may be more terrified of stuff that happens in another sport. So obviously I played football my entire life, and when a receiver comes across the middle and gets absolutely destroyed and their body stiffens up, that terrifies people. It doesn't really obviously I don't want that to happen to me, but it doesn't scare me. What scares me is the very isolated incident I saw of a hockey game where the dude got his throat cut. That was terrifying. Just the idea of somebody cutting your... Obviously, that never
doesn't really happen.
Yeah. Exactly. That 0% chance. Far less likely than the football thing. But, God, it's terrifying.
I think it was a Louisville player from about 10 years ago that shot a three-pointer and came down and his leg broke. And it was
playing Michigan.
Hanging there. No. Listen, it's hanging there like in an upside-down L shape, capital L shape. And his bench, it's either his bench or the other bench, but he does it obviously right in front of one of the benches of teams, and they just freak the fuck out. I saw that on live television when I was a kid, and I'll never, ever wipe that from my mind.
I'm just going to point out
the
real crime of that day.
Imagine eating chicken wings while you see that happen, Jordan. I swear to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I was sitting there eating chicken wings, dude. And I was watching Sports Center, and it came on, and I was just like, well, I don't feel like eating chicken wings anymore.
Just crack a bone and chicken wings.
Probably just like pumping that through. Check out this awesome clip.
Check out this kid ruin his athletic dreams. So we went on a bit of a tangent. So I think I'm finished with Trials Rising in terms of me like focusing on it and playing it. Like I said, I finished Inferno 5. I zero fault an extreme track. I did everything I wanted to do.
Dom, we're gonna be like, oh, how did you like Sekiro, Jared? He's like, man, I wanted to, guys. I wanted to get around to it, but it's just this Trials thing.
Speaking of the difficulty, though, I think it was a good primer for me because zero fault in an extreme track and finishing Inferno 5, it is a lot about you just hitting your head against the wall until you figure out the technique.
Like, it's called Inferno. It sounds scary.
It is. Like I said before, I think it's not as good as Evolution or Fusion. I think it's still a very solid game. I'm interested to see what happens with the DLC, but it's Sekiro time, man. I got to move on. It's Sekiro time now.
Okay, so you are putting it down?
Well, yeah, I'm done. So I'll come back for DLC or like if they announce that they're doing a really cool community playlist for tracks, but it's not for the last couple of weeks. It was like come on every day and try to like beat some levels or get some medals or do some achievements. It's not in that space right now for me. It's kind of I'm past that. So the initial honeymoon phase is over.
Wow.
So let's hop into some news. We got a bunch of interesting stuff to talk about. Normally we talk about NPDs the week they come out. There was a lot of stuff with GDC and everything happening. We're going to push the February NPDs to next week. And there's some interesting stuff regarding Anthem and Crackdown 3 that we'll get to. Shout out to Matt Piscatella, who I want to bring him up later when we talk about Stadia, because he replied to a tweet I had to one of his tweets. It was really funny. But in terms of quickie news, so I know we're all here huge fans of Sonic. If there's one thing you can count on with Controlled Interest is that we're huge fans of Sonic.
Hell yeah, that blue hedgehog.
Sonic Team announced at South by Southwest, which took place right before GDC, which is taking place right before PAX East, because they can't decide to split these things up. They all have to happen within the span of the same month. They announced that the next major Sonic game is in development. So does that mean Sonic Mania 2? Does that mean Sonic Colors or like a type of title like that? They said major. They didn't say mainline. I don't know if major indicates like a full console release, because Mania came out on consoles. Weird wording, but I think they just want people to know like we're working on an actual new Sonic game. So we'll see what happens there. I wonder if it's going to coincide with the movie, because obviously we have the live animation movie coming up.
Sonic as a franchise is, and I didn't think I could ever say this, but it's in a weirder place than it's ever been before, because it already got so weird. I didn't think it could get any darker, but you know what Aaron Eckhart says about it getting darkest before the dawn. So,
jeez.
This franchise is just like, it's not even like weird. It's just the actual game or TV shows or whatever. It's just like with the Twitter account and the memes and the fan art and the jokes, and it's a really weird cultural thing. Sonic is, because it's not as big as Mario, but it's still recognizable icon. It's weird.
And the jokes on itself with the meme culture has gotten meta, and like it's very weird. My one saving grace for the movie is that apparently Chris Pratt's supposed to be in it. I like Chris Pratt a lot. Obviously, everything he does isn't gold, but I'm interested in it because of that. The next bit of news is something I also played Apex Legends this week, but I figured I wouldn't focus on that at the beginning of the show, so I could touch on it here. And Respawn launched the Season 1 Battle Pass, which included a new legend, Octane. I played him. I'll give my impressions on him too. But if you're familiar with Battle Pass, it's a thing that Fortnite introduced, and it basically gives longevity to Battle Royale. It's the way it works for Fortnite and Apex Legends, for those who don't know, is it unlocks 100 levels of unlocks. And as you play the game, this is separate than the in-game levels of level 1, 2, 3, 4. Their Battle Pass levels, you're an XP at a higher rate, it seems like, from what I've played, than normal levels. And with each level you hit, you unlock new things, right? So gun skins, character skins. The cool thing with the Battle Pass is that if you play it enough and you level up enough, you'll earn enough in-game currency to buy the next Battle Pass without any money. So after your initial $10 purchase of the Battle Pass, if you just play it, like if it's your main game you play, you'll never have to buy the Battle Pass again, which is really cool. So for younger,
that's how Fortnite works, right?
Exactly. I was explaining, Jordan, that it's pretty much all based on the Fortnite model. I'm enjoying it so far. The new legend, Octane, his story is he has 2 metal legs, robot legs, and he lost them doing an adrenaline, like high-speed record. He's an adrenaline junkie. The cool thing is his character is actually based on a Titanfall 2 speedrunner who would, to get the world record, the 12 seconds on the initial training sequence in Titanfall 2, he uses grenade jumps. So the thought there is, the grenade would blow off your legs. So there has been, from Respawn and such, that this character is based on that. It's a nice nod to the community, which is really cool.
That's fucking awesome.
He's Spanish, so a lot of his catchphrases and stuff are in Spanish, which is really cool. Another part of the inclusion in this game, which is awesome. His ultimate is probably one of the more underpowered. It's one of the higher skill ceiling ultimates. So if a normal person is using his ultimate, and I'll explain what it is, it's not really effective, but if you have somebody who knows how to use it with the terrain, it can be highly effective. And he basically throws out a launch pad that you jump on. It's like a mini trampoline, and you jump on it, right, and you can travel in the air. Now, it's not a huge jump to where you can start parachuting again like at the beginning of the game, and it's not a small jump. It's somewhere in between there. So a lot of people have been complaining that they don't feel it's useful enough. That being said, I've seen highly skilled players that use it to quickly change team positions in an engagement. I've seen it used to get away from a building in a certain scrum. people who know how to use it
Scrum.
are great with it, right? It's just one of those high skill cap type of ultimates. But he's cool. He's really fun. One of his abilities, so the way the legends work, as I've told you guys before, they have a passive ability, they have a basic ability, and they have their ultimate, right? So his ultimate's a jump pad. His passive ability is he gains health over time if he's not being shot at. So he's a self-healer. So that already changes the meta of your team because that's one person who necessarily doesn't need to pick up health items, right? His basic ability, he injects himself with this adrenaline shot that makes him run faster but causes him to lose 10 health or 5 health. So basically, in exchange to be able to run faster, he loses health, but then his passive lets him gain health. It's a really cool balanced character that's for aggressive players. I'm not very aggressive or passive. I'm somewhere in between, so I don't know if I'll use him going forward. But my first match with him, I got 4 kills, which was pretty dope. The battle pass is solid. It's tough though because character skins don't mean as much in Apex because it's first person, right? To the individual. Obviously your friends see your skins, but you don't see your own skins. So the gun skins are more important. And both of you played Destiny, right? I know you did, Jordan. I'm not sure if you did, Dom. Did you play Destiny?
Yeah, the original. Yeah.
Do you guys, and maybe you guys didn't, who knows? Do you guys remember the gun called Galahorn that was an exotic gun that had like a lion thing on it, like carved it like a lion? So
I saw this. My reference to that is this one random YouTube video of this kid freaking out, but when he gets that gun, but he's like whisper screaming because his mom's asleep in the next room, and he's on stream. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh my god.
So when you reach level 100, you get a skin for a gun that's kind of like that, but it's a dragon and it's like silver purpley. It's really dope. Damn. I just wanted to make that reference, you know, like, oh, it's like a sculpture in a gun kind of thing. There's some really cool stuff. The battle pass lasts 3 months. I would put money on it that Octane isn't the only legend that comes out. The cool thing is, Octane wasn't part of the battle pass. He could be you purchase. Everyone had to purchase him with in-game currency or real money. But the in-game currency, he costs just as much as any of the other legends. Because 6 of them were free, 2 of them you had to purchase, and now he's a third one. And me, as somebody who plays maybe 3 times a week for maybe an hour at most, and that's like at the when I have the most free time, I was able to buy both of the other characters and buy him when the battle pass launched. So you think about the kids who are playing this every day, right, nonstop. It's balanced well that it's like no biggie to purchase new characters. It doesn't feel like a stretch. The in-game economy is great. The battle pass was $10, so not too bad either. That's pretty much it. I don't know if you guys have any questions about it. I think I pretty much covered everything, but yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah. I just wanted to give an update because I know I'm pretty much the only one that's playing Apex Legends, and it's going to be a pretty big game like Fortnite was last year in terms of active discussion, so I figured I'd talk about it. Speaking of something that will be in the conversation, in June, during E3, Bethesda has announced they are holding their E3 press conference, so don't fear, everybody. They are holding a conference Sunday, June 9th at 5:30. This is a very interesting conference because thanks to Anthem, people aren't really bashing. People have forgotten about Fallout 76 as the internet does. They're on to the next thing. But that doesn't mean that they don't need to address it during their E3 press conference, right? I'm very interested to see how they approach this. I'm somebody who... Fallout 76 had all of its issues. I'm not forgiving it for anything. Obviously, Dom, you've talked about it wasn't as bad as people said. You really enjoyed your time with it. I really think that Todd Howard is somebody who doesn't get the credit he deserves a lot of the time. Bethesda is often seen as the butt of the joke for some reason. Like even before Fallout 76, which after that I understand, but before that, the Skyrim joke, it's coming to everything, yada, yada, yada. I appreciate Todd Howard. I think he's just as important to the industry as Hideo Kojima, a lot of these other guys we talk about. It just he's part of the Bethesda joke, and it really bothers me. That being said, I have faith that he will address it in some way. If it's in a great way that we all are like, haha, they did that, awesome, I don't know. Or if it's just in a pretentious-y way. I don't know. I do think they're going to address it, though, one way or another. But we are going to see Doom Eternal, which is cool. We got the tease of Starfield. I don't think, and you guys can tell me if you guys feel otherwise, I don't think we see the new Elder Scrolls this year. I think if we see any of Bethesda game studios, it'll be Starfield, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think we get a trailer for Starfield. Not like, one of those trailers with like gameplay, but it's, really polished slices of small chunks of it within the cinematic trailer. But yeah, I don't think there's a Elder Scrolls though. I think they don't even mention that shit.
I think, and then we still have Elder Scrolls Mobile, which hasn't come out yet too.
Yeah, yep.
Which I'm actually really excited about because it looks really cool. Who knows if it lands, And we also have the Wolfenstein game. What is it? Twin? No, two.
Yeah, Youngblood.
Youngblood. There you go. Because it's the twin daughters, I always think it's like something with that. Twin or
twin
two.
Blood.
So Bethesda's having a conference. The only one we have to hear about. I guess Nintendo hasn't announced it either, but they're gonna do a direct. And I think in their last direct, didn't they say something about this summer? Look forward to more announcements this summer or something. Who knows? But Ubisoft is the other third party that we're waiting to hear from, and it'd be surprising if they didn't. So E3 isn't going away. There are 2 press conferences we're not going to have, which sucks in terms of PlayStation. I don't know if anybody's too upset that EA isn't holding one, but yeah.
It definitely feels kind of like less exciting, at least to me, because I'm like, now it's kind of like, Microsoft's going to be, poised to be like by far the best conference, most interesting at least.
Hopefully,
they've been talking it up, so I assume like they got some crazy shit that they're about to blow our minds with. But then like, Ubisoft, I'm like, okay, pretty much we can almost, for the most part, guess exactly what they're going to show. EA was always like, whatever. Even Bethesda now, we can pretty much predict what they're going to show. Within a margin of error of like 1 or 2 games, but I don't know. It's not as exciting to me.
The counter argument to that, though, is we could kind of predict what Sony was doing the last couple of years, unfortunately, too, for the most part.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
But I'm not saying them not being there is good, because I would like Sony to be there, but I was just, counter argument to what you're saying.
Yeah, last year definitely, too. I mean, there was like, I think Resident Evil 2.
Resident Evil 2 was the only surprise, I think.
Yeah. But otherwise, you're right. It was pretty much, these are the 3 exclusives we knew about. Yeah, Control was a nice surprise, but...
I'm trying to think. Did we know about Control beforehand?
We didn't know what Remedy's game was.
You're right. We didn't know what it was. We knew they were going to be at Sony stage, but we had no idea what it was. You're right.
But yeah, still overall, it was kind of like not crazy shocking.
But it is worse that they're not there. I fully agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just because, like, I think if, even if, like, EA, Bethesda, and Ubisoft all pulled out and it was still PlayStation, Microsoft, Nintendo, I think that's still as exciting because those are the big 3. Without Sony being there, I do think the Sony not being there is way more important than EA not holding a conference. It's not even close.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anything else you guys want to touch on, or you want to move on? Move on.
You're good.
So the Indie Showcase happened. Nintendo talking about all of their indie games coming to the platform. It was really solid. I thought it was well paced. Didn't have any like extreme announcements. I guess depending on who you are, if you're a huge fan of Zelda, we'll get to that. That was at the end of the show, the end of the showcase. The big announcement up front was Cuphead was coming to Switch via Microsoft. Studio MDHR said that thanks to our partners at Microsoft, it's coming over. It was announced that it's going to have Xbox Live support, which is awesome. People assumed that meant achievement support, but that isn't the case. In an interview after the showcase, they made clear that there won't be achievement support at launch. They're looking forward to adding it later, but you can still play Cuphead on your Switch come April, which is really dope. I already beat Cuphead on Xbox, and I'll probably eventually get it. It's just not something I'm yearning for with all of the new indie games. And some of those that they talked about, Katana Zero, which I've mentioned on this podcast for like, a year and a half now?
Yeah,
it's
dude,
been a long time.
I saw that one. That was the one.
It has a release date, April 19th or 18th, I think.
18th.
18th. Super excited. Can't wait. That game looks so awesome. I've just been waiting for that game for so long. There were some games you...
Jared, I think I can stop asking you about games because it was Hollow Knight and Katana Zero, maybe one other, but I think those are all the games where I'm like, Jared, where the fuck is this game at?
Katana Zero has been a while, and Katana Zero I think is being developed by 2 people. I think it's pretty much one person. The other person handles music and stuff. But
nice.
Can't wait.
It's kind of like maybe not in the actual like mechanic format, but it seems similar combat wise to Dead Cells.
Interesting. I see the parallel there. I like the system.
Like quick paced hack and slash side scroller.
Yeah, I mean I love the stakes of it being one shot, one kill, and it rewinds the level. I think because the rewind is so fast and it gets you back in there right away, that's a good way to alleviate the disappointment or stress from dying, right? But it gives you an opportunity to re-strategize and approach a level in a new way. I just can't wait. Another game that was announced was Rad. Didn't necessarily do anything for me personally, but I know, Dom, it got you interested, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It was cool. It was like a kind of 2D, 3D hybrid. To me, that's what it looked like. They called it 3D, but it still like felt like somewhat almost on a 2D kind of top.
It was like plane. Isometric 2D.
Yeah, it was a weird split. But then I don't know. And then the art style looked cool to me. But then the core feature of the game, which is basically you're in a post-apocalyptic kind of world, and there's different mutants that you encounter, and you kind of can steal their traits, kind of like like a Kirby type of deal. And Fallout actually does this also, where if you get irradiated enough, you'll get like new abilities. But in Fallout, there's no physical appearance to them. Yeah, and they're not as wild and crazy as the ones in this. Where like in this game, I can't even think of an example. Like you could just grow a giant mutant crab arm that snaps shit, or you know what I mean? Just
dragon wings.
Absolutely nutso.
An arm, yeah, definitely an arm.
Just like nutso kind of mutation type thing. I don't know. It looked like it could be fun.
So I think Rad probably stands for like radiated adolescent destroyer or something like that, right?
I just assumed it was Rad, like short for radiation. I don't know. That makes sense too, though.
Yeah, who knows? I was watching. I was like, is it an acronym for something? I didn't
really awesome, dude.
I think the gameplay looked fun, but for me, especially with indie games, it has to have a good mix of aesthetic and gameplay for me to like get interested. And I just didn't feel the aesthetic personally. I thought the idea was cool, like you mutating, but it just didn't catch me enough. Something that did catch my attention, yours too, Dom, is the Red Lantern, which is essentially like Alaska Watch. It looks like Firewatch, but in Alaska.
Balto the game.
Iditarod. Looks really interesting. Voice acting by Ashley Birch. Shout out to her. She's awesome. They showed a dog dying. A dog getting killed, rather. Not a dog dying.
They showed a dog dying?
They showed a grizzly bear killing a wolf. Like, snapping its neck. Jordan. Brutally murdering. One thing we talked about before the show, Dom, is we're not sure if it's like a survival game or an adventure game like Firewatch. Because it, like, towards the end of the trailer, it hinted at, like, some survival aspects. But who knows how much that's actually in the gameplay or if it's, like, the sense of survival. Who knows? We'll see. There were some other indie games in there that we really enjoyed. I think there was 16 total. The one at the end was most surprising. Started with a trailer that looked like a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer, rhythm-based RPG. And, it's from the creators of Crypt of the Necrodancer. You see gameplay, looks like improved gameplay, looks like a sequel. And then the character's talking, and here she's like, oh, I'm not alone this time. And up on the screen pops not only Link, but Zelda, which to me is even more surprising.
Da-da-da-da.
And they're both playable characters in the game. The game's called Cadence of Hyrule. It is a Legend of Zelda game, technically. People interview them, they're talking about it, like, it's not mainline, obviously, but it is technically a Legend of Zelda game.
Is it not called The Legend of Zelda Cadence of Hyrule?
No, it's just called Cadence of Hyrule.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So what about like Triforce Heroes? Is that called Legend of Zelda?
I don't think so. I'll do a quick Google search, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Where does the Legend of Zelda line lie?
I think
there's some alliteration.
Link has to be the main character, the only playable character in the game.
So
I could be talking on my ass, but that's my assumption.
Hyrule Warriors?
It is called The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes.
What about Hyrule Warriors?
Well, Hyrule Warriors is not. It's the other thing. What is it called?
Warriors Orochi?
Yeah, it's just called. The official name is Hyrule Warriors. It doesn't have Legend of Zelda in it.
Right. So there's precedent for this.
But in the description it says it brings the Legend of Zelda series to life in new ways. Who knows? All we need to know is that Cadence of Hyrule, you get to play as Link, you get to play as Zelda, which, like I said,
where does this occur in the Young Link timeline?
Which was more surprising to me. I never played Crypt of the Necrodancer, but I heard great things. A rhythm RPG sounds like a really cool genre combination. I'm in the door, barring like an absurd price point on the game, which I don't think it'll have. But yeah, I'm in day one on this one. It looks really cool.
Yeah, me too. Obviously, I like pretty much anything Zelda, but I'm excited to use that as an excuse to try a new genre. Really,
yeah.
This is a weird genre that I don't know the first thing about. So,
shout out to Nintendo for letting an indie dev use their assets, like use their IP.
Right. Yeah.
Really cool. Like, 10 years ago, would we imagine Nintendo letting an indie studio use Link and Zelda in a game? It's crazy.
Well, I think they kind of do that.
Name the last indie studio they gave their IP to.
Stuff. Well, the thing about Nintendo is they have a lot of stuff that I think they do put their name on. And we don't know about them like we know Sony's internal studios, and we know Microsoft's just built their stable up with all these new ones. We really don't have that kind of front row access to Nintendo's first party. So when they do something like this, it's tough. Like, you know, even second and third party, it's really tough thinking about that with Nintendo, for me at least.
Yeah, but I mean, they're also not a Japanese developer, which is another thing on top of that. You know what I mean? I think the first major use of this we saw was Ubisoft with the Rabbids. What is it? Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, and now this. Yep. But that's not an indie studio. That was a AAA studio. So it's really cool. Yeah. Really excited. Cool new stuff. 2 Zelda games in 1 year. Awesome. I'm really excited for the remake.
Link's Awakening?
Oh. Yeah. I've never played the original.
This game, though, has to officially dash any hopes of like a Majora's Mask for Breath of the Wild.
Why is that?
Anytime soon. Yeah.
Oh, for this year? Are you saying?
Well, not for this year, but there's no way they're going to put out all these Zelda games that quickly, I don't think.
Well, this game is slated for
next year.
Well, this game is slated for summer, and Awakening is slated for the fall. So we're getting 2 games no matter what.
Yeah, I just don't feel like, even if it's a 3D Zelda, I don't think you'll get one next year. I don't know. Maybe. It seems like they might be just flooding you with them, maybe.
Well,
yeah, probably 21 or 22 will be the next.
I mean, if they're smart, it's like a cadence of like Mario to Zelda back and forth. Hopefully we'll get a new Mario game next year. We'll see. I would love, we'll see what happens. Who knows?
Yeah, they're giving you these 2D Zelda games. What about the Mario?
Exactly. Like, we got the Wii U port. So we talked about Cuphead coming to Switch, which is a console exclusive coming to another platform. We had other news. Recently we had Quantic Dream, who got acquired by Tencent. We knew that they were probably going to have their games come to other platforms, and it was announced they struck a deal with the Epic Store. Detroit Become Human, why do I keep saying Dreams? Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls are all coming to the Epic Store. No word on their older titles, but those 3 were specifically mentioned. So I don't know if it's a huge loss for Sony. Honestly, I don't know if Detroit sold very well. It was a good game.
Well, I don't think it's a loss for Sony. Their games are still going to come out on Sony platforms.
Yeah, but you know how like fanboys are of like the whole talk with Microsoft for the longest time was like, well, their games are also on PC, so they're technically not exclusive. Yada yada yada.
Yeah, but they were second party. This isn't like
exactly. Yeah.
Sucker punch to.
That's what I'm saying. Is like Sony is not a major loss because of many different factors, like you said.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to say, Dom, about Quantic Dream? maybe their work environment. You want to go work there someday.
Hey.
So early.
Dom, would you be upset if I started photoshopping you penetrating other individuals that we are friends with?
With a
subsequently
sword?
send it around the company we work for? Yeah, that would be a problem.
God.
Should I add a Nazi cap on top of your head?
Good lord. Anyways, moving on. So earlier we talked about quickly moving on. So earlier we talked about Sekiro and how I'm obviously done with Trials Rising. I can't wait. All of us can't wait for it. I just want to mention real quick. Currently, it's sitting at a 92 on OpenCritic. 100% of reviewers suggest you play the game, and on Metacritic, it's sitting at a 90. And I think OpenCritic has 21 reviews posted so far, and Metacritic has 31 posted. So I highly doubt this will drop below like an 87 or an 88. Who knows? It might, but these early reviews are awesome. And
just wait. Good. Jim Sterling will find a problem, and it'll get a 2 out of 10 or something.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. The surprising thing is that a lot of the stuff I've seen, I haven't read too much because I don't want to spoil myself for the game, but some of the stuff I have read is people aren't afraid to be like, oh, this game's difficult, but I didn't knock it because of the difficulty. That's one thing I was worried about. Whenever a new From game comes out, a salty reviewer that's playing it that's like, this game is too difficult to be reviewed. You know, that kind of feeling. I'm glad.
Too difficult to be reviewed.
I'm glad there are those type of people that are like, you know,
Wow.
This game gets knocked because it is too difficult, which is like, that's a weird justification. I'm just glad that we live in a time now where we are having reviewers who are like, hey, I struggled through this game. It was difficult, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad game or I should knock it for that, you know?
Well, not only that, but, I mean, the major outlets have, like, a plethora of people to choose from to do their reviews, so you're going to choose someone to review this game that is familiar with the genre and
the systems and, yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah.
But sometimes those people are swamped doing another review, you know, and who knows? It can happen.
True.
Yeah.
Not always perfect, yeah.
The last thing real quick, so Windows Central, who notified us of the all-digital edition of the Xbox One S, recently got product photographs for the product that they revealed through leaks, and it's assumed that it's going to be revealed at April's Inside Xbox, and the other additional documents show that it's probably releasing on May 7th, which we knew was probably going to release in May. May 7th is actually good because it's a full month before E3, right? As opposed to like the end of May and it's a couple of weeks. The console will feature a 1 terabyte storage hard drive, which is important considering it's all digital. The documents also say it's going to have the lowest RRP, which is recommended retail price of all current Xbox One consoles. So they made it a point to say Xbox One, not just Xbox One S, because the pricing there could be different, obviously, if you're buying the VCR. And the console is also going to include a digital copy of Forza Horizon 3, Sea of Thieves, and Minecraft. The 3 games, which is also huge. No information on whether or not it'll include some type of Game Pass offer. I wouldn't be surprised if there was like a 1-month card in it. That's just me speaking. That's not what they said in the article. And lastly, the information they stated suggests that this product is aimed at mostly platform newcomers and that they're focused on traditional consoles with disc drives for next gen. It seems like in this stuff they just want to make it clear like, hey, we're not moving away from disc drives. This is just in the family of consoles.
Interesting.
I think having the 3 games included is awesome. That's already built-in value. April reveal, May release. Like we said before, it makes sense. They want to get this console out before they start talking about next gen that's going to release next year. And the lowest RRP is also something we speculated, considering people forget the Xbox had the Blu-ray drive, which the PlayStation 4 doesn't. So pulling that out is also going to knock down more dollars than a normal disc drive would. So anything you guys want to talk about this? Any feelings about this console? Any of these rumors?
So there's a correct leak on this?
These are all like, obviously take it with a grain of salt, but these are like internal documents that they received. So much so internal, Jordan, that the product photographs they received, they actually had somebody on their staff recreate them in Photoshop, because if you know, like, internal documents usually have like what is the word I'm looking for?
Watermarks?
Watermarks, and you can tell kind of who leaked it. the person who gave them the information asked them to not use it because of the watermarks. And Windows Central are the ones that have they've leaked so much stuff about the Xbox. Like their sources are really solid.
Gotcha.
Yeah. This is pretty much like, yeah, it's happening, but it is a rumor, So.
But I'm saying there was a leak. Did we talk about a lot of leaks here. We talked about a lot about upcoming Microsoft versions of consoles. Somebody talked about this before, right? Basically the same situation, right?
These guys talked about it. They talked about the April reveal, the May release. The new information we have is the terabyte, the games, the lowest RRP, that stuff. But it is the same people that originally leaked it, like you thought. They were the ones that told us, yeah, they're announcing it in April. It's coming out in May. Same guys. Okay.
Just making sure that this is the same kind of
through line. Yeah.
Of the leak, yeah.
Dom, anything you want to say, or you think this is all happening, all true?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think it's smart to call it all digital edition, just to avoid any possible confusion of you buy your kid the Xbox, but then realize it didn't have the disc drive.
Man,
that could be a problem.
If this thing is anywhere between $150 and $200, plus Game Pass, it's a steal for people.
Yeah.
It's gonna be crazy.
It's gonna be the lowest. So that means it's got to be under 300. So
under 250.
Yeah, it's got to be at most. This thing will cost 200.
This is 250.
Yes.
Yeah, and you often less on sale too.
They're often 225 to 209.99, something
with
like that.
Games and shit. Yeah.
Yeah. The highest price for this, if it is what they're saying, the lowest RRP, it'll at the most be $200 shorted.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But who knows? 150 would be crazy. We'll see. Lastly, let's get to
$199. It's locked and loaded. $199.
Speaking of crazy, so Google revealed Stadia. We all weren't sure what this Google keynote was going to be. Is it the future of gaming? Are they releasing their console? We were actually pretty correct in our predictions. We thought it was going to be something included on Google Chrome, Chromecast. That is true. Let's get into some of this information. We're running long, so I want to get through all of the information, and then at the end we'll have a discussion about our thoughts on Stadia, okay? So, Google revealed Stadia, the new name for their Project Stream service at their GDC 2019 keynote. Features one-click play from any link or YouTube video annotation. Seamless screen-to-screen experience. We saw that demoed on stage, although there's some questions there that we'll get into about how seamless it was. Will support 40K FPS at launch, but currently, obviously, 1080p 60. And they're future-proofing for
4K 60 FPS, right?
Yes, at launch.
You said 40K FPS.
It's a lot of Ks.
Yes. I misspoke. 4 I did say 40K.
Just making sure. Just ironing out that detail for you.
People know. There's no such thing as 40K yet. 4K 60 FPS, 1080p 60 FPS, and they're future-proofing for 8K. They revealed the Stadia controller, which looks like a hybrid between the Xbox One and PS4.
Hold on. They're future-proofing for 8. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, this is infinitely future-proofed.
Let me just say, our eyes really can't see better than 4K, so I wouldn't advise anyone to buy an 8K TV.
My eyes don't care about anything but over 1080p right now. Obviously, we'll all make the move to 4K, and I'll see the difference. Right now, I could care less. It revealed the Stadia controller, which, like I said, looks like a hybrid between an Xbox One and a PS4. It has the analog sticks, the analog sticks of a PS4 controller. PS4. But it has the buttons of an Xbox. It has the XYBA or AB.
Very interesting to see the parallel analog sticks.
Yeah. The D-pad looks really gross. That's just me inputting that statement. It includes a share button and a Google Assist button. Share button, obviously, to share to YouTube. Google Assist button allows you to push the button, ask a question to Google Assistant, and it'll bring up relevant YouTube videos or search results for your problem. They showed a demo of this, of if you're stuck on a tomb or part of a game and you're trying to get an achievement or get past a thing, you can say, hey, Google, how do I get past this tomb? And it'll show you a solution on YouTube, which is actually really cool. Interested to see how quickly that process works. Works directly with Stadia, the controller does, through Wi-Fi, and they're saying that'll give the lowest latency possible between the controller and the device you're using for Stadia. They partnered with Unreal Engine, Unity, and a bunch of middleware for developers. That kind of stuff was aimed more towards the developer side of things. Stadia Games and Entertainment was announced, which is their first-party developer. It's led by Jade Raymond. Remember, we talked about she was appointed vice president at Google. What did that mean? She's actually the vice president at Stadia, it seems like, and she's specifically leading this team for their first-party exclusives. They stated it's launching in 2019. And lastly, an interesting quote I saw from Matt Piscatella, our boy, the MPD guy. He stated on the whole thing, which I kind of agree with him, you got to see the content and monetization models, not too much to talk about without that detail, to be honest. Because in this whole thing, we didn't see what the pricing was for this, and we didn't see any games at all except for Odyssey. We saw other demos, and we saw them talk about Doom Eternal, but we didn't see any other games being played. They were just projects that they built to test, Stadia. So after saying all of that, what I will say, my quick statement on it is, I do think it wasn't a really good reveal of Stadia. I think it was actually kind of poorly handled. I think it didn't do a really good job of telling the average consumer what Stadia is. But I think it's a very promising because, Dom might speak to this too, I tried out Project Stream. I know how crazy it is and how good it works. That being said, I also have good internet. So I think it's promising. I think this is something that'll pay dividends in years to come. But if anybody doesn't think this is a premium product, if they think they're going after the average consumer right away, no chance. That's just my thoughts.
Really? Okay, I was actually thinking literally the exact opposite on that.
Yeah.
Because the biggest advantage of this is, one of the biggest advantages of this is the price point is entirely a subscription thing. So even if it is $10 a month to be in this service and then another $60 for every game you want or whatever, you don't ever have to buy a console. So the entry point is way lower than any gaming system has ever been. So I think that will attract the more casual audience, and at least people who already have a Chromecast. So I guess if you have to buy a Chromecast, it's $30 or whatever. But
it's not just Chromecast; it's your phone, your computer,
right,
your iPad.
If you want it on TV, you need a Chromecast, basically, right? But everywhere else, you could have it.
Yeah, but that's
in that case, you
not necessarily. You could have your TV or your computer plugged into your TV.
Oh, sure. Yeah, true. Good point. But I don't know. There's two different ways of looking at that, I guess, because maybe the subscription will be so expensive that it kind of offsets pretty quickly not having to buy a console. That could be the case. Yeah.
Eurogamer did a piece on this, and they talked about 90% of Americans have a data cap on their internet.
Really? That much?
Yes.
Shit.
That's a huge issue.
That's fucked.
That's a huge issue in this, right? Because they were talking about, I don't remember the exact numbers, so forgive me.
Although 90% Comcast gives you a terabyte of data, and so that's still going to be considered.
For a month, that's nothing.
Yeah, that's not much.
A terabyte? Dude, I don't think even with...
I go through a terabyte of data a month.
Mm-hmm.
That's
not much.
You're not just average Joe when it comes to.
But if you're, the thing they did,
usage.
The thing though, Jordan, is your Netflix accounts for that. If you're using a Chromecast, you're likely somebody who uses other apps other than Netflix to watch stuff, right? So that accounts for that.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily detrimental, and also, sure, you could think of a situation where you're just constantly, streaming this Stadia game stuff, and it's fucking up your data usage, or maybe you just play it every now and then. Maybe it's not maybe you're casual about it. Maybe you have other ways to play games. It's not necessarily that you're going to be just raking in terabytes of data usage every month for Stadia.
Well, I think Eurogamer said that for every 35 minutes of 4K streaming, you use 7 gigs. I think is what they said.
Something like that. It could add up quick, especially when
ridiculous.
You're watching a lot of else. But so Jared, I have a question. I don't know enough. I'm one of the lucky 10% that doesn't have a data cap.
Yeah.
So how does it work when you reach it? Do you have to? Are you just shut off, or do you just get charged a lot for additional gigabytes type of deal?
Crazy ass surcharges.
So just a lot of money.
And to the point, I've never passed a terabyte, but I've more often than not, I by the end of the month, you have 50 gigabytes left. You have 75 gigabytes left. So I get very close.
Yeah. I just pay not to have the cap because
where I live, you don't have a choice.
Terabyte, and I certainly have used more than a terabyte or two in a month. Possibly.
We don't have that option here, unfortunately. What were you asking though, Don?
No, that was it.
Okay. Well, yeah. What happens after? There's surcharges. So different companies handle it differently. The way Xfinity handles it is like, for every X amount of gigs after, I think it's 100 gigs after your data cap, they charge you like $50 or something. And it's crazy.
Not everybody's gonna be streaming this shit in 4K, 60 FPS.
Yeah,
HDR.
I agree.
It's just like, I don't think it's.
I just don't think this is
dire, but it's certainly not. Not everybody's going to be doing this, but people in cities, it's certainly viable.
I think it's viable. I'm not saying it's not viable or it's not going to be successful. Like, I don't think it's not going to be successful. I just don't think this thing is going to be like out of the gate. I just don't think it's going to take off as quickly as people assume it will. I don't see it happening.
Here's the thing. I don't think the
name's awful.
The name or the logo helps. The logo is one of the worst Google logos I've ever seen. It's garbage. It's like almost like a squiggly paint stroke.
Well, it's based on a Wi-Fi signal. You can obviously tell that. And I don't think it communicates.
Like a cone shape.
I don't think it communicates what the product is. The name's bad.
And then Stadia, I thought it was Stadia at first.
Yeah.
And then I guess it's like Stadium kind of.
Yep.
But it's just really bad name, really bad logo, so that's not gonna help.
And honestly,
I came around on the name because I thought it was. I didn't watch the conference actually. I was just like reading tweets about it. So I read like Stadia. That's a weird name. But then like when I learned like it's like plural for stadium or whatever. That's actually kind of cool.
But that doesn't communicate anything about video games.
Well, sure. But what is Xbox or what is like?
I think the three of us could probably think of 15 better names in 5 minutes. And think of concepts for logos that would work a lot better.
The thing though, Dom, is that we have parents who call every console a Nintendo. We're not talking about us. We're talking about the general consumer. If they're scrolling through their Chromecast and they see Stadia and it looks like a Wi-Fi logo, what are they going to think it is? I'm not. It's not. The thing is I'm sounding negative. I'm very positive on the product because, Dom, me and you tried this and it's phenomenal how well it works. And if I didn't try the product, I'd probably be a lot more negative about it. But I have tried it. I do think it's going to be successful. I just don't think it's going to be out of the gate, like, hit the floor running. And I don't know if Google's pushing for that either. I think they are playing the long game with this, as Google has done with a lot of their stuff. Even like YouTube. It
was Project Stream. If they just named it Game Stream and it's like Google Game Stream, that'd be better than Stadia.
I think that particular name is taken. I think there's NVIDIA Game Stream. They might own that. I could be wrong.
Yeah, but if they just call it if they put Google in front of it, then it is technically their own. They could call it Google Game Stream, but then that's like too basic. Right. I think it's a problem of for me, anyways. The name, me not liking name and the logo.
Google
I think if
Mail, Google, all these other Google Play, whatever. It'd be great if they could call it Google Play. To be honest.
I would love if the logo was good, I'd be fine with that. Or if I liked the logo, or if I liked the name and the logo was still whatever. It's just like both of them I don't like.
Wouldn't that be funny if they were like, "Listen, guys, we're gonna switch the names around. So this is Google Play now, and the Google Play Store is actually the Google Store."
Man, that's crazy because Google Play would be a great name for it, but it's already taken.
Yeah.
So it's like, but yeah, like I mentioned before. Dom, you and I have played it. It works great. So if anybody's wondering if it actually works or if it's a sham, it works phenomenally. Dom's talked about playing it on his not-so-great laptop. I've talked about how easy it was too. There was questions, though. Earlier I mentioned the seamless screen-to-screen experience. If you go back and watch the onstage demo of him controlling the character on, I think, like the Microsoft Surface or whatever, there was like crazy input lag Now, read into that as much as you want. Who cares, really? But there was, like, some crazy input lag. I just think this is, like...
stats that I watched... I didn't watch their actual presentation.
The Digital Foundry?
The Digital Foundry, and they... Just the general numbers I was seeing for the, like, server PCs that they're going to use, and then what they were getting on their latency tests seemed promising at the very least.
I think
looking like they're building it from kind of like a next gen standpoint. Obviously, we talked about future proofing with 8K and all that.
Yeah, it's just an interesting conversation of like, it's going to be hard for not all of us because obviously I think Dom's super into this, but in the immediate future, I don't see this replacing the console experience for me personally.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how it catches on. I do think it is, like, people are talking about how PSVR is a religious experience. Like, if you ever get a chance to try it, you'll understand how great it is. I do think the moment people get to try this, they'll be like, whoa, this is crazy, right? They'll have that moment.
Like, I'm just, like, Nintendo Switch already, like, impressed everyone with, oh, you're playing on TV, and then you just grab it and you're playing on the go, just like that. I think this is going to be a similar thing. That's one of the main selling points is, right, like, you're playing on one TV, and then, just snap, and then you're playing it on your phone in the other room or up to the other TV, right?
Exactly, and we haven't even mentioned, obviously, there's going to be implications for how Microsoft handles all of this and PlayStation.
Right.
Microsoft did a GDC presentation. I don't want to get too much into it, but I want to mention it briefly because it relates to this. In their presentation, their whole thing was focused on customizable controls for developers for all of these various platforms. And Microsoft basically said that their whole goal with their streaming service is to make it as developer friendly as possible, and they kind of don't even want developers to use their default controls for touchscreens for mobile devices. Like, they want to have all of the tools in place so developers can customize it however the hell they want. And they showed, like, these really cool customized touch controls for Forza and a couple of other indie games. Forza isn't an indie game, obviously, but their whole mission is that we have a generation of kids who are growing up that actually like the feel of a touchscreen more than a controller. And if they're going to be... It is the truth, though.
Abominations, burn them with fire!
It is the truth, though. And they basically talked about in order to get those people to get into Google Xbox... what is their thing called? Project xCloud? That they want to make that as easy as possible for developers so they can make the experiences as good as possible on those touchscreens. They obviously said you can use a controller and all that, but the images they showed are really cool. Like, the customizable nature of the touch controls is really impressive.
Sure, but if you are a human being that plays video games and you have a choice over touchscreen controls versus a controller and you choose touchscreen, you are an abomination and you should be ashamed.
These companies don't care if they're abominations. They care if they're putting the money in their pocket. You know?
I don't care. I'm talking about the individual persons and how they should feel about themselves.
Yeah.
They should be wrought with shame.
But the cool thing there, though, is the customizable controls don't also only apply to touchscreen. If you still can use it, obviously you'll still be able to use an Xbox controller, which also gives developers the ability to try different things on different platforms. So that way when you do go from TV screen to iPad to whatever else, the controls can flow in a way that makes sense for that specific display if there's some, like, weird hang-up. You know what I mean? It is interesting.
Sure.
Especially with, the streaming future and all of that. Because having
the streaming future,
having your games work as best as possible on any kind of screen is going to be very important. So it makes sense with the seamlessness of it. Who knows?
Welcome to the streaming future.
The streaming future. That was episode 138 of the Controlled Interest Gamecast. Do we even need to go over what we're going to be playing? We're all going to be playing Sekiro.
Sekiro in the streaming future.
You'll hear our impressions. I think maybe next week's podcast, the first half of it will just be us talking about Sekiro. Because if all three of us are going to be giving our impressions, we're probably going to have a lot to say about it.
Call a spade, yeah. At least half.
Yeah. Can't wait. Is there anything else you guys are going to be playing that you want to mention?
I'd like to get around to watching both Arrested Development Season 5 Part 2 and on Netflix, as well as is it Love, Death, and Robots?
Love, Death, and Robots. Oh, I started watching it, Jordan. Good thing you reminded me. For 5 episodes in, okay?
Yeah.
In my opinion...
Oh, baby. I just can't wait for the HDR on this one, Dom. The HDR on this one is going to be dang.
5 episodes in, what I will say, 2 great episodes, 1 good one, 1 and 1 absolute stinker.
The thing is, I know that... are they all animated in some way?
Yes.
Some live action?
Mixed.
Okay.
Some mixed.
I think I'll be able to at least enjoy, kind of picking apart the minutia of the animations.
Yeah, the cool thing is like the ones that have weaker stories, even then they still have animation that's interesting.
Sure.
But there's some gold in those first 5. Obviously, I think there's 19, but through the first 5, some gold.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a cool thing.
Yeah. I'm gonna go see Us tomorrow too, so I'm excited about that.
What is surely to be the best movie of the year?
Man, I'm hearing mixed reviews, which is very interesting. It seems like way more polarizing than Get Out. Yeah, I think it's only sitting like an 80 in most places.
Oh, I thought it was like, what am I thinking? Rotten Tomatoes.
Get Out. Or here's the thing, man. All right, Get Out's overrated.
Oh.
I'm going to be closing the show. I don't want to get into this tangent.
I'm just saying, anyone could see that. It's like the whole 100% highest rated horror film on Rotten Tomatoes ever. Come on, you can at least admit that's a little much.
Well, I don't think it's
a great movie.
I wouldn't call it a horror movie.
It's a great movie.
In my opinion.
Is it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes good? I don't know about that.
Is anything 100%? Yeah. Anyways.
Us. We'll see about Us. Props to Jordan Peele. Shout out to Jordan Peele.
Yeah. I don't want to end it on a downer. I'm very excited for Us despite mixed reviews. I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyways, that's it. We'll catch you guys next week with episode 139. Going to be covering the MPDs most likely, and I think next week is the 28th, so I think PAX is barely starting, but I think the 28th is when Gearbox is making some of their announcements, so we'll see if Randy Pitchford is fired or not, or what happens there. Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Catch us next time. Follow us on iTunes. Leave us a review. It definitely helps. YouTube, search Controlled Interest. You'll find us there. Like the video, subscribe. Hit the bell notification thingy. It lets you know when our videos get uploaded. YouTube has a weird thing with subscriptions where they don't always show up. Follow us on Twitter at CTRLINT. That's Controlled Interest abbreviated. You can follow Dom at Dom's Oreos. You can follow Jordan at Mellow Modus. And you can follow me at Jared _. So trying to get to just the Jared. Never going to happen. Catch you guys next time. Bye.